that again, shall we?
Shut up. Now then, guys, it's Phil, it's all Steve, and I am joined, as usual, by Big Scott, he now calls himself for some reason, Martin, and then obviously we have a wonderful special guest tonight. We have the excellent Paul Wilson. You will have obviously heard his music, not just for musical purposes. He is obviously here to chat Leeds. Scotty is like the world's biggest super fan. You would have thought he is actually in a room with 𝘽𝙬 𝙠𝙗. So if you expect to hear me and Martin and Paul, don't be surprised to hear Scott just interrupt us to tell Paul that he likes his music. Scott, do you want to get anything out the way now, mate? Do you want to give him a kiss? Virtually, obviously.
No, I was going to throw my knickers at him, but I realised it would just hit the camera. I was going to go full Tom Jones, like 80-year-old woman at Tom Jones. It was going to go.
I'd take it, mate, anyway.
How are we doing? It's lovely to have you with us. How are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you, mate. Sorry, yeah. Really good, mate. Thank you, yeah. Lovely to be on the show with you guys, yeah.
And Martin, obviously, how are you doing, fella?
I'm good, can't complain. Looking forward to tomorrow apprehensively, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so is everybody... I'm going to ask for... Martin, you'll be used to this kind of question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how depressed are you still? Scotty?
Screw it. It happened. It's done.
That's
Next
fine.
game.
That's not a number.
Screw them.
Yeah, still not a number.
No, right. Well, if you want a number, I am on a 2, simply because I'm finally getting over the Leeds again.
Okay.
So I'm excited. You plastic.
Mate, I've been to far more home games this season than you. Show me your plastic weather sunshine.
Shut up. Don't even like you.
Martin, what about you, mate? Scale of 1 to 10, how depressed are you?
Well, I was starting to get over last weekend, and then Marcelo spoke and reminded us that reminded us that everybody's actually dead. Yeah, everyone's dead. But yeah, I'm okay. About 6 to 7 on the depressed scale.
Okay.
Could be worse. Could be better. Yeah.
And Paul, are you recovered? Are you with Scott, or are you still a little bit depressed like Martin?
I'm in Martin's, but I just think right now you can be as down as you want about where we are and stuff, but reality's got to set in at some point, and you look back 4 or 5 years and see where we were and see where we are now, and look at how many players we've got out. I think the only thing that really bothers me is the strength in depth. That's the thing that bugs me. When I saw the bench against Southampton, that isn't good enough for any team in the Premier League. Never mind who we are. You think about the players we've got out, but we've actually probably only got 5 players out. And when you've got a bench with 7 kids on, something doesn't quite add up there. And I know he likes a small squad, but I think maybe it's time to realise that in this league you need a bigger squad, regardless of how you've worked before. And I think that's the thing the key thing that really.
It's not going to them. You know that, right?
No, I know, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, we spoke about it the other night, me and Martin. He's gone for a cup of tea. We were talking about it the other night, and we were just saying, obviously, like, depending on who those kids on the bench are, maybe you can have a bit of confidence and you can stretch people around, whatnot. But the lack of a midfielder brought in the summer was glaringly obvious to most of us at the time. It's become more and more glaringly obvious since. And like, I've seen people obviously talking about Adam Forshaw starting tomorrow. I actually put a bet on with the guy that I went to the first game of the season with, that he wouldn't play for Leeds in the Premier League or start a game anyway before Christmas. If that happens, I've lost some money. But at this rate, unless I've seen a few people talking about Lewis Bate starting tomorrow, unless Lewis Bate is up to scratch and ready to start, like, I genuinely wouldn't mind to see Forshaw just for the sake of seeing some experienced players. Obviously, we'll move on straight away to the Bielsa press conference. That's obviously gives us the vast majority of the talking points that we're going to have for the next 45 to 50 minutes. And obviously, the main news: Calvin is probably not going to be involved. If he is, he might be on the bench. And like Harrison was on the bench, half fit, and didn't come on a few weeks ago. So even if he is on the bench, it doesn't mean he's playing. Rafinha hopefully is back, preferably starting. But obviously, no Bamford and Ayling for another 2 games, and Robin Koch out for another month. How do we all feel about that news? I mean, I'll go in that order. So, sorry, I'm pointing at the camera, and it's the opposite of the way around. Yeah. So, Scott, how do you feel about the things that Bielsa said? Does it fill you with confidence that just having Rafinha back alone gives us a better chance in this game than we had last week against Southampton?
Going forward, yes. Obviously, Rafinha back in the squad, and going forward, we actually have a threat now. There's that confidence again. And we talked on it before, but when Rafinha's not playing, the other players don't have that confidence going forward. They don't know where that creative spark's going to come from. I honestly don't know what way Bielsa could line up tomorrow. And do you know what? We could all sit and say, well, I would do this, I would do that, I would do this, I would do that, whatever. Bielsa's going to do what Bielsa always does. I think the only change you could see from last week's lineup, possibly, would be if KP isn't going to start, Forshaw could start in that role. He's a defensive midfielder. That's the only one I could maybe see. But as for Rafinha, like, it gives me a bit of hope that if we get one good spark and Rafinha gets a decent shot, we could get a goal early, and that could change how we all probably really see the game actually going.
Martin, what about you, mate? Do you think Rafinha alone being back in the squad makes enough of a difference to react properly to last week?
Well, it's definitely a step in the right direction. It's not as many players back as I would have liked, but he is a massive part of what we are going forward, especially this season. We've relied on him very heavily, and so yeah, him being back alone does give me a little bit of faith that we could get something out of this. And if we are going to get anything out of it, it's going to come through him. Unfortunately,
probably
at the moment, the rest of the team aren't quite clicking going forward. Yeah. He's the only one who's really taken this season by the balls and went with it. So yeah, it could have been better, but it could have been worse if Rafa was not fit as well. Then it would have been even worse. But well, a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, Paul.
I know what you said about Lewis Bate. I think he's a really nice, tidy player. I think he started tonight though, so I don't think he'll be involved tomorrow.
No.
But
he's playing now.
Yeah, I'd actually like to see Shackleton play there. I think he's built to play there. But having said that, I think sometimes we overlook actually how good Phillips is, and there's not many players, and I'm not trying to build him up so much. Do you know what I mean? But there's not many players.
We all do.
But
you're in the right place.
But even when I went to watch England at Wembley, and when I saw him in the middle with Rice, it's like there's no need to have Rice there. Do you know what I mean? When Phillips is there, he can do it on his own. There's not many players in the league that can do that on their own. Never mind at this club. They've tried Stroik, they've tried Dallas, they've tried Click. It don't work. So I personally, and he ain't going to do it. But when I look at it, I'll just think play two. When he don't play two in there. Yeah, and then you've got a fighting chance of being more solid. And I don't think it matters when Rafinha's back, brilliant, and that will lift everyone. He'll lift people, but when you've got so many players missing, we've got Rafinha, but we don't have Bamford, and again, Bamford has had his critics in the past, but these players are massively important to us. Luke Ayling, massively important. Do you know what I mean? So when you've got so many of them that are out, I'll be honest. Wolves are they had a bad season last season, but I really like what they do as a club, and they don't concede many. They have tight games. No one's going to blow anyone away. We could nick one. We could. It's going to be a tight game, but they're beating the teams that they need to beat, like we did last year. They're beating everyone below them basically, and they got beat by, was it Man United and Leicester, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe Brighton, maybe. Or Brentford, sorry.
Yeah.
But 1-0 wins against everyone else. That's what they do. They're good at the back.
Yeah.
You know, and I think tomorrow a point is a good result. Or I do. I think a draw is a good result. And a must-needed 3 against Norwich.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We're not in must-win territory just yet. I mean, that's really premature, 8 games in. But it is one of them games where I think with Leeds United, it's always a pressure thing for me. The more pressure that there is on any given game, the more likely we are to not win it. If there's no pressure, I always feel confident that we can go out there and smash teams. But, you know, like a playoff semi-final, I never feel confident going into high-pressure games. And the more time we go and the longer we go on this kind of run of form, then it's kind of building pressure to an extent where if we don't win tomorrow or don't get a result tomorrow, then there's more pressure on the Norwich game. And vice versa going into December. But for me, obviously, the big things that I focused on in the lead up to this game is sort of there's the unknown quantity thing. So obviously the last manager that played Bielsa that had never played him before got sacked the day after, which is obviously Watford a couple of weeks ago, our only win of the season, Xisco Munoz. Bruno Lage has never played against Bielsa before. Fingers crossed he has no idea what's about to hit him. But, you know, we could have said the same thing about Nuno last season. They did beat us back-to-back last season. Like you just said, Paul, the whole tight game thing. I would be inclined to agree. I don't think they've changed too much systematically over the summer. Obviously, they've changed manager, but the personnel is very much the same. For me, I still think tight game. They won both games last season on luck for me. Don't get me wrong, we weren't exactly deserving to go out and hammer them either. It was a 1-0 game either way, and a bit like that Sheffield United game at Bramall Lane where we've nicked a late winner. I think that's tomorrow. That could be the way that we go about getting anything out of it. Stay in the game, don't concede, and try and get that bit of luck that we were getting at the beginning of last season and haven't had so far this season. And the last little bit for me is obviously usually with Bielsa, it's not like we haven't seen bad performances. We have seen terrible performances. And Martin, you were saying last time we were on, you know, Wigan was probably worse than the Southampton game. And, you know, Forest as well in the Championship, bad. We have had bad games, but with Bielsa, we've never had a run of bad games. We've always gone out the next game, responded with a performance. And they're the things for me that hopefully indicate towards maybe something more positive tomorrow. I mean, Scott, do you have any other thoughts going into the game that give you hope? Other than Rafinha, obviously, and having Paulo.
I just don't see how the team comes out and doesn't respond to last week. Like that, they kind of have to.
It's probably going to be a very similar team. Some people would say same personnel.
I wouldn't be surprised. If we could choose right now, I wouldn't be starting Rodrigo up front. I would sooner be starting Roberts. Please don't kill me in the comments, but I think I personally I'd be having Joffrey starting up front. But right now, I would rather have Roberts up front than Rodrigo.
We will predict the lineup in about 5 minutes.
Listen, predicting the lineups doesn't mean anything. Like, do you remember when Bielsa first came and he told you 3 days before who was going to play, how they were going to beat them? Oh God, that was beautiful. But I just can't see us playing the same way, as we did last week. Last week was horrible. It was horrible to watch. Not a single shot on target. No, that was the worst thing I've seen under Bielsa. And again, you can't blame Bielsa for it. You know, when you think about it, it's what he has to work with. But then, in the same aspect, if he worked with a bigger squad, we wouldn't have those problems. You know, there's so many things that we have to just take the good with the bad and go, right, if we get hit with injuries, we're going to go through a real storm of crap. But for upcoming games, you're saying tomorrow's not a must-win. I disagree. Tomorrow and Norwich, we must win. Tomorrow, I don't. I'm not 100%, but I feel right now it is.
They're not 6 pointers. Like, we're not going to go down.
Out of what's coming up. No. Oh God, no. But
year, though.
At this point,
we had a month of death, and we absolutely smashed that bit out of the park. So I think October for me is too early to start talking about Christmas. I don't talk about Christmas until middle of November. The same way I won't talk about relegation in October. It's kind of the same vibe.
I'm with Phil there. I don't think it is quite at the must-win stage just yet. We've got plenty of time left before anything like that happens. Teams last season started poorly and then picked up towards the end of it and changed the fortunes around. We can do that too. There's no reason why we can't. We've had a bad start so far, and it can get better. It definitely will. We can't have a worse performance than last week, put it that way. There's no way we can get worse than 0 shots on target.
Yeah.
Well, 0 shots in total we could have.
Well, that's true. Or you could have 2 own goals. Have I just tempted fate?
Well, to be fair, we had 2 own goals last season in the 2 games against them, and they managed 6 points without actually scoring a goal against us. So it could happen.
Who knows? It's definitely going to be a challenging game tomorrow. I've had a look into the way the new manager Bruno Lager is playing. I watched not like full matches, but I watched some highlights from Wolves' recent games, and they have changed a fair bit. Last season, Nuno was pretty negative in the way he set up, as we can attest in both the games against us. They didn't really get forward unless they was countering us. But the new where they're playing, it's not wholly different. They are still solid defensively, but they do take more risks going forward. Their fullbacks get further forward, which hopefully we might be able to exploit, especially their right back. What's his name again? I can't remember his name. Semedo, that's it. Especially Semedo, he does commit forward quite a lot, and we can be able to exploit that behind him. If it was me, if it was Dan James playing there, he could be a good choice to try to exploit that with his pace. But
can we talk about Wolves exploiting pace and not talk about the Traore?
You didn't let me finish, Philip. I was just about to get onto that. But yeah, like I said, we can exploit that pace, but at the same point, they have the fastest and the strongest player all in one in the league.
Yeah,
and he can hurt teams by himself. People say that he hasn't got much end products, but that's mainly going off last season's performances, and that they were missing their best striker for most of last season, who was out injured, Raul Jimenez. He was out most of the season. Adama put up pretty strong expected assists, which he should have got more assists than what he did, but his teammates weren't finishing them off. Yeah. Himself, he's not a great finisher. I don't think we have to worry about him finishing wise, but we need to worry about him laying it off for other players. That's what we've got to worry about more with him, in my opinion.
Scott, you going out and in has ruined my feng shui now, because now I'm going to have to change the order next time round. Just stay where you are.
That's fine. But I wasn't even finished saying what I was saying about why I think these next 2 league games are must win. I wasn't even finished. Out of our next load of games, those are the only 2 that, when you look at it and the way we're playing, that we really should be winning. 100%. So if we don't win tomorrow and Norwich, I'm saying it now, come Christmas, we will be in a relegation battle. And that's unfortunate, but I think it's the truth. I think that's the state of where we are at the minute. We need to get a couple of wins. We get a couple of wins, there could be confidence. We could have a couple of shock results. But Wolves and Norwich, for me, out of these next few games, are the only ones that we should be going. We 100% can win them.
So not Crystal Palace.
No.
They're only a few points ahead of us. That's definitely a game we can win.
They are playing.
They've also got. They're playing brilliant, and 𝘽𝙀 𝙎𝙬 will absolutely rip our back line apart.
Paul, what do you think, mate? Must win?
Sorry.
I don't know. Norwich is must win. That is like that has that. I think the thing is this year, luckily for us, and bearing in mind we have got players out, and when we've got everyone back, we are in that bracket of like 7th to like 12th. That's where we probably sit at full strength. When we've got players missing, we are shaky. You know, it's worrying. It is like the depth in the squad. Yeah. The players of that magnitude for us, we missed them back. When we don't have Phillips, full stop.
Yeah,
we struggle. But to have Phillips not there, and Bamford, and Ayling, and go on and on and on.
Yeah,
I just think that having seen Watford, they are down. If they don't go down, honestly, well, I'll do anything. They are awful.
Yeah,
Norwich are awful. They're down. So I think there's only one place. And do you know, honestly, I've said this ever since it happened. Newcastle are going down. I honestly think Newcastle are going down. I really do. I think it'll be hilarious, and I do genuinely think they'll go down. But if we can avoid defeat against Wolves and beat Norwich, I think that's fine. I really do. I just think that losing against Wolves can be really damaging. A draw would be good for morale, knowing that with those players missing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We can do that. And like you say, you know, maybe just concrete up a bit and just feel a bit more solid. That'd be a good, like, come on now, lads, we can do this. But can you imagine losing like 1-0 in the 85th, 86th minute? Like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's like you were saying before about, you know, that feel-good thing. Look at last year when we just started climbing that league a bit. We started playing with the handbrake off. Absolutely. So we were just flying at teams and, you know, we didn't care if we lost or not. It was like, it was great. The football was amazing, but when you can't do that when you're 18th, 17th, 16th, you can't. You're desperate for points, and we're yet to see if he can manage this team through that. And that's a really well. It remains to be seen, but that's why I believe that Norwich is the game to just increase that gap over them. You know, it's those teams.
Yeah,
I don't see them guys picking up points. I've seen their fixtures; they're awful.
No, mate, I genuinely think Norwich could possibly be worse than Derby when Derby went down with, was it 12 points? Wouldn't shock me. Because Norwich,
I think Watford are worse.
Yeah, mate,
Watford are worse.
I said at the Watford game, worst team and fans, by the way. I've seen Ellen Road in such a long time. Like,
100% agree. Awful.
They couldn't pass the ball to each other, but to be fair, we were exactly the same last weekend. So it's not one of them like people. Chris Kelly's usually on our channel. He was in the comments last time we were on, just saying when we were talking about Norwich and Watford going down and we won't possibly finish below them. He said that was football snobbery, and I can see his point because obviously we just did exactly what we criticised Watford for being terrible for. But at the same time, I still just kind of feel as though we can't be worse than them, and that was them full strength. This is us sort of. I know I'm making excuses, but weakened. Surely not. Should we try and between the lot of us come up with starting lineup then? What do we first of all expect to see, but what would we like to see? I'm assuming it's going to be a really, as it is every week, straightforward with the goalkeeper. Yeah.
It's obviously Klassen.
You make the same joke every week.
No, last week I said Van den Heuvel.
No. He played in pre-season. That wasn't good. I'm going to ask Martin. I mean, I'll ask you two guys as well, but Martin first. The formation tomorrow, do you call it a 4-1-4-1 that blends into a 4-4-2, or do you just outright call it a 4-4-2?
Well, it's kind of like a 4-4-1-1 because the way he plays it is he sits one of the strikers slightly behind the central striker, which with the players we've got available, I would imagine it would be Rodrigo, dropping behind Roberts. That's what I'd imagine we'll see tomorrow. It will be so you could call it a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1, but it is essentially that. It's not quite the same as the 4-1-4-1 because you haven't got a sitting player behind the midfield too.
Yeah.
We could see very easily a double pivot tomorrow in the midfield. I would imagine probably Click will be in there, and I'm not sure who else. There's an outside chance that we see a bit of a cameo at right back from Cody Drameh, because he's not playing for the under-23s tonight, and if he was to come into the side, that would mean that Shackleton could go into midfield with Click, and that would be a very good midfield in my opinion, because Wolves is the midfield that Wolves have got. Although they are talented, they aren't the most mobile pairing. Moutinho and Neves, they are both quality players, but they haven't got the most mobility behind them. They're not the fastest. Jamie Shackleton, we know, has got a fair bit of pace. Click doesn't have a massive amount of pace, but I think he's on par with those two, so would have the edge in that. So it's going to be an interesting one to see if there's any surprises fielded by Bielsa, because he could also pick 𝘽𝙎 because he's not playing tonight for the under-23s as well. So who knows?
Scotty, what system are you expecting?
Do we even have formations? I don't know if we have formations. I just know Cooper plays here, and Llorente plays here sometimes, and then maybe someone's in there. And then we've got these winger fullbacks, and then sometimes we've got winger midfield fullback wingers, and then you've got Click doing nothing there and Dallas doing that. You talk to me about formation. It's like a 2-3-1-2-2-3.
Sorry for asking.
I don't know what Bielsa's doing with the formations. I just call it Bielsa ball.
It's my job to ask the questions, man. You could have just said I don't fucking care, Paul.
No, it'll be the usual. It'll be a variation of 4-1-4-1. It'll be a variation of that.
Paul?
I just think that somewhere there'll be a disappointment. That's all there'll be tomorrow. I mean, everyone will be wanting something to happen or a change, or I think we'll probably get there. And I do hate to say it, but I think it could well be the same team that played against Southampton. Could be Rafinha on the bench. Do you know what I mean? He's not worried about doing things like that.
Yeah,
but what I would like to see, and people have been talking about it online today, is Rafinha playing the 10. I think that could be a real, a big play, that, and I think that could work with Harrison, James, and Rafinha. I think that's scary. That you wouldn't want to play against that, would you? Regardless who's up front.
It's something that's been explored a lot, obviously mainly in the Twitterverse. I must admit, I'm just not a fan of the idea. I mean, maybe if we actually see it in the flesh and it changes my mind, I'll eat my words. But I'd rather see a little bit of what Martin said, obviously with Drameh at right back and maybe Shackleton in midfield. Although I've been really happy with Jamie Shackleton at right back, to be honest. Well, what we'll do is we'll go defence, then midfield, and then obviously the two attacking players. So in defence, I'll just ask you all to give me your back four. Not what you expect to see, what you want to see. Who do you want to see in the back four? We'll go in the usual order. Obviously, Scotty, you're now down here somewhere, wherever there. So, Martin, you go first, then Scotty. Paul.
I'd want the back four. Bearing in mind what I said before about the midfield, I would like to see Drameh at right back, Llorente and the right centre back, and I honestly don't care who plays the left centre back slot. Strauch or Cooper is fine, and then at left back, the only option we have is Big Stewie Dallas. That's the only option we've got at the moment.
Leo Kelder. Yeah. Scott?
Oh, yes. I paused. You said Leo Helder and everything just died of death.
That's from
it'll be the same as last week.
That's the joke.
Oh, wow. Jimmy Shack right back, Llorente Cooper in the middle, and Dallas on the left. Chances are, if Wolves do go with two up front, you'll have Strike, Llorente, and Cooper in there.
Yeah. Paul?
I'd like to. I'm with Martin. I'd like to see Dramit right back, but maybe even Cresswell at centre half. I don't think he's put a foot wrong. He's impressed in every time I've seen him play for any team. He's impressed, and he seemed to give us a little bit of a boost when he played. It reminded me actually not as a player, but when Woodgate came in and started playing. You know that same. You expect a centre half to fall flat on the face, and he just never looked like he was going to do that.
Yeah,
and his air of confidence. I like him. I think he's great, but he's probably not going to play. But I'd be happy with that. I might be wrong as well, but hasn't Llorente played in Phillips' role?
He has, not for us, but he has before in Spain as well, to be honest.
He's played a couple of times in defensive midfield, not for us, but it's an outside chance. Bielsa does like to put defenders in that role.
That was one of the reasons why he wanted him, because he felt like he could deputise.
Well, that's what I thought when we signed him. Yeah.
No, I mean, for me, I would always prefer to see Shackleton at right back. I've liked seeing Shackleton at right back this season. I think it's gone a lot better than Ayling has in that position. And I understand people wanting to see Shack in midfield, but for me, the build he is, I think he's a fullback. I don't think he is a centre mid. I think he'd get bullied off the ball too much in the middle of the park, and in those wide areas, he can be explosive, dynamic, and that pace of being like Alioski vibe, was buzzing around people and pissing them off because he's so energetic. I think he suits the right back role and has played it better than Ayling so far this season. Centre backs, for me, Liam Cooper, I know he's a bone of contention with a lot of Leeds fans, but you look at the numbers, not just in our squad, but across the Premier League, he's still quite high up in like top 10 for tackles, passing, most pressures, like so many different things. And for me, the only defender that hasn't really put in more than one or two shocking performances is Cooper. I think everyone has had 2 or 3, maybe even 4 or 5 shit games. Not just bad, shit. And for me, Cooper, obviously no one was good last week, so he doesn't get away with it. But generally speaking, I do think he's been our best defender in the Premier League in both seasons. Him and Llorente together fills me with more confidence than anyone else. So I'd be sticking with them. And then obviously at left back at the moment, it has to be Dallas. But if there was someone else to go there, it wouldn't upset me too much based on recent times. Midfield then, Martin, are we assuming it's a 4? And who would you have in that 4?
On the right, it would be Rafinha. And based on my defensive wants, I would like Shackleton and Click. And then on the left, that's the only one that I'm not sure about which one I prefer. James, although some people have said that he's done a fair bit, I've not been overly impressed with James so far. He's got pace and he's got work rate, but that's all I've seen from him so far. But Harrison also hasn't been that great. So it's a bit of a quandary, but I'd say Harrison this time.
Yeah. Big Scott.
What I would like to see is definitely not what's going to happen, but with our absolute, and I'm just going to call a spade, with our centre midfielders being absolute tosh so far this season, and we don't have Cooper, the only thing that I can see that can give us a fighting chance tomorrow is Click and Strike both playing a CDM. 2 of them in there. Right? And then Rafinha, James and Harrison swapping around in 10s and wings at that, and Rodrigo up there. That's the only thing I can see. Because, let's be honest, our midfield and attack is all one big mesh, and especially the way that Harrison, James, and Rafinha are able to play any of those 3 attacking roles. That's what I would do. For me personally, that's the only thing I can see working. What we will get is strike as CDM along with Click and Roberts in the middle, Harrison on the right and James on the left, and Rodrigo up front. That's what we'll get. I think that's going to work.
Paul, what say you, mate, on the midfield for?
I agree with the kind of 4-2-3-1. That's what I'd prefer to see at the moment. My two, based on the fullback that I had, I'd have Shackleton and Click in there.
Right.
And then I'd have Rafinha in the 10, Harrison and James on the wings. That'd be my midfield. Like you said, though, I ain't gonna do that.
No.
I think
I
am with
Tyler Roberts starts. For a fact, he starts.
Yep, he's definitely starting.
So for me, what I'm expecting is obviously Rafinha hopefully back on the right. I think Harrison will start on the left, James on the bench, and I would say it's going to be Struijk basically pretending to be Calvin Phillips next to Click, and I say it's 4-4-1-1, and obviously we'll move on to the forwards now. We'll all do it. I think everyone's basically going to say something similar, or unless you really catch me off guard, I expect it to be Tyler Roberts behind Rodrigo. The look on Paul's face is basically the look on people's faces, but I'm not saying that's what I want. It's saying it's what I'm expecting. And then obviously if we get something different, you'd rather 2 o'clock come and be happy rather than because that is a general sort of sound in Billy's bar at 2 o'clock most weeks.
I feel for Roberts.
Yeah.
I just say that I feel for him because he probably hasn't been given the run of games when he should have been given a run of games. Back in the Championship, and obviously we got out of there. So whatever happened, it doesn't really matter now. But it worked. But there was probably a run of about 12 games where Bamford was not at it at all. We had Nketiah as well. He could have played any of them. But I do feel for Roberts, but this season, I just can't find. I can't find. It must be a trainer. It must do it in training. It must. I have not seen anything this season to make me think that he should start over the people that are there. And again, I don't want to criticise him like just come down on a ton of bricks. He's a Leeds player. I'll always support him. Yeah. But I just can't work out why he would start. I don't. And I feel awful for saying it, but you've got to be honest, haven't you?
No, yeah, completely agree. Chris. We know you're there, mate. Yeah. Look,
let's be honest, he's not getting on Watford.
Tyler Roberts has it hard at the moment. And let's be honest, at Leeds United, there is always one scapegoat, whether it's 𝐽𝙀𝙀 or every 5 minutes it's usually Liam Cooper. There is always one. And it's a shame the boy's 22. And realistically, we were saying last week, just when it gets to a stage where the stadium falls silent when he takes his tracksuit off in the 70th minute to come on for Rodrigo, when that situation is, if people booed, perhaps that would be better. Or if people sighed, but the fact that it goes silent for a 22-year-old man, and people can say, oh, well, he's paid very handsomely, like bollocks. If you were stood at work doing your job and the room fell silent every time you took your jacket off and sat down at your desk because they were that fucking terrified of you coming on and doing your job. You can say it's not a scapegoat. It's a fucking scapegoat. It is a scapegoat, 100%. There will always be one, and Tyler Roberts at the moment.
No, you can't. You can't turn around and say a player's a scapegoat when they're not good enough.
Look,
I think that's what people are frustrated. He's not a scapegoat. He's just no. That was last week, but we're talking all season. No, I think we're getting caught between wanting Roberts to do well and him not being good enough. We're caught between two things. We want them to do well, but he's just not good enough.
That's fine. Instead of making a joke out of somebody, the constructive thing is, like we were saying last week, take him out of the limelight. I know we're not Bielsa and we can't make that decision, but for Bielsa, just perhaps put him in the under-23s for a little bit and like put Lewis Bate there instead on the bench and bring him off. Like take the heat off him a bit. But the way that he takes that tracksuit off and nobody claps, you can sit there and say, well, it's not scapegoating. Well, you'd support fucking anybody else taking the tracksuit off. Like, what is it then?
See,
what
what I was going to say is Roberts gets a lot of stick, and most people know I'm not. I think he's a decent player. He's not as bad as people make out that he is. Yeah. He does have things that he can do well. He has flaws, like all players. His is that he is indecisive in the final third. Sometimes picks the wrong option.
Yeah,
and we've seen similar things with lots of players over the years. When Harrison first came to us in the Championship, what was he like? Anyone? What was his problem in the Championship? Indecisiveness. Yeah. He showed that he can get through that. He's not playing well at the moment, isn't Harrison? But last season he was very good. I think most of our fans will agree on that. Mm-hmm. And he managed to turn it around. He's not massively older than what Roberts is. What is he? 24, Harrison? Yeah. I think. So he's when he first came to us. So when he first came to us, he was around about Roberts' age now, and he's improved. He's had a lot more game time than what Roberts has. Roberts has had to put up with mainly bench starts for most of his time with us. He had a small run of games, about 10 games last season, when we had no other options. He's only been played when we've had no other options. And he has worked his hardest in every game he's played. People say that you at least have to show you work hard, but I've seen that whenever he's come on the pitch. He tries hard, but he doesn't always make the right choice, which... all of us could say that about ourselves. Sometimes we don't make the right decision, especially when there's 35,000 fans who go every time you walk on the pitch. He's still trying his best, and he's doing other things off the pitch as well. And he just sounds like a good lad. And it makes me sad when he gets as much stick as what he does when he's clearly such a good bloke. And I'm not saying that people should say it's the best things in sliced bread and that he's amazing. Just show him a little bit more respect, just a little bit, because it's harsh to me. But we'll see. Bielsa will play him, and for what it's worth, I would want him to start tomorrow, because I feel but on his appearances off the bench, he has done reasonably well. No worse than some of the other players in the team who are first team regulars and haven't been put in the shifts this season. So I think he's done as much or as little as anyone else. He's got as many goals and assists as the £30 million Rodrigo this season, and he's barely played any minutes. So
if Roberts scores one goal tomorrow, I will buy every single person in Billy's bar a drink.
I really hope that he scores.
I won't be there.
If he does, I'm getting an early flight home.
I'd appreciate what you're saying, Martin. In an amateur world, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm with you on that. Like, yeah, he deserves to play. Like, and he might be a good kid and that, and no issue with him in that respect. But do you know what? Bluntly, just hasn't been good enough. And I think that the problem is there are people. I mean, I'll give you an example. Tell me why Roberts deserves to start over Greenwood. Because I would play Greenwood over him in there. And I think the problem with Roberts is, and I've said this since he's been there, and I was a fan when he came. I saw kind of probably the things that you did, but now I just don't know what his position is, and I don't think anyone does. It's like, what is he? He's not a winger. He's not a striker. He's not a 10. So what is he? I don't think. What is it?
That is a good question. To be honest, I'm not for a second sitting here saying Tyler Roberts is our best player. I'm not saying he deserves to start games. I have many times said, when it comes to Roberts, the best thing to do is take him out the firing line, take him out the limelight, give the boy a rest from what he gets, and then maybe bring him back in 5 games when everyone else has had their go and either done well or done badly, and maybe it's a different atmosphere for him. But the only point that I take, I'm not, but the only point that I get annoyed about is when I do feel that he gets just basically picked on and victimized. And what is the point? Like that, there's no point in anybody on YouTube or in the stadium or anywhere just picking on a player because he's trying and, in their opinion, failing to do his job. I'm not saying that he's scored enough goals. I'm not saying he's set up enough goals. If you want my opinion on his performances, yeah, generally speaking, not good enough. But at the moment, like, he's not the one making the decision to start him. He's not the one making the decision to put him in at 70 minutes in a game where he's not going to make an impact. Like, some of that is on Bielsa too. And all of us can see that bringing him off the bench at the 70th minute isn't the right decision, so just make a different one. But we can't change that decision happening. We know that. So when that decision does get taken and he does come on, instead of the stadium going silent, just fucking clap. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
Just clap.
It won't hurt anyone to clap him. It wouldn't.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But
supporting players
yeah.
every week. Mm-hmm. But in this scenario, when you're discussing a team and why it should be picked, you know, I think you've got to be honest and again, not criticising a person, but saying, right, why isn't Greenwood playing in there? Why isn't Rafinha playing in there? Do you know what I mean? Why? If Robert starts and Rafinha doesn't, for example, or Somerville, you know, who's doing it? He's doing it. Do you know what I mean? That's the point. These players are doing it in another game. Rafinha's gone off to Brazil. Oh, he's a world-class player anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But these other players are doing it, and I think they deserve a chance. That I just don't think I've seen it from Roberts to say why. And again, it does sound off, and I get what you mean about picking on people, and it shouldn't be like that. But as a fan, you should be able to express what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's like do I say couldn't hit a barn door, or do I say, you know, his finishing hasn't, or do I just, Chris, I'll flash it up. Do I say his finishing isn't up to scratch, or do I say ship him out? Like, it's not helpful. And I'm not saying Roberts is spending his Friday night watching us, but if he is, like, can we not try and say something constructive, positive? I know we're not his coaches. I know we're not the people that are going to inspire him, but I just don't see the benefit of whether you're on YouTube or on your own personal Twitter, whatever, just bad-mouthing people. Go on, Scotty.
If Tyler is watching this right now, right, I would love him. If he's watching this, I would love him to prove everyone wrong, because I just think, yes, he's young, and Paul's right as well. When he comes on, regardless of how anyone feels about his current performances, including me, we need to cheer him and applaud him. And I think a big thing that would help his morals or his morale would be if Paul Wilson wrote a song about him.
Nice.
Why?
Did you like that?
Any material on Tyler Roberts, Paul?
Why? It's Tyler.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, Scott, do you want to ask the question, or am I asking the question?
But listen.
I know
Paul's on here for a reason, obviously.
Yeah. Go on. I'll let you.
Right. So, obviously, who's it? What's Nicholas Griffin? Wait, just get the comments out of my road there. I need to see Paul's lovely face. There we go. So, Paul's obviously on for a reason. For anyone that follows him on the socials and they've been following his career and things, you'll know that Paul takes popular songs and in an ingenious way and sometimes almost comedic way, but paying homage to Leeds as well, changes the lyrics as a real Leeds fan would. And particularly, I have a personal favourite. It's one of the songs about Stuart Dallas. I don't know if you want to. Do you want to give us a wee tune just to let people know what I'm talking about?
Do you want to join in with him?
Came to Leeds from Brentford because they didn't have a clue. He plays for Northern Ireland. He's their answer to Cafu. Yeah, he can play all over, on the left or on the right. When we win the championship, we'll sing this song all night. 'Cause he's Stuart
We'll sing
Dallas.
this song all night. It's Stuart Dallas.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it.
I mean, I'm going to skip on to the other thing that you're here for, Paul, and I'll let you take over in a second. But
yeah,
based on the last 60 seconds, are you really sure you want us to come to this gig?
Yes.
You're aware that Scott will literally bring knickers to throw at you.
That's what we want. The bass player, our bass player, Rob Chew, he thinks he's going to get knickers thrown at him. So if you could help him out with that, Scott, that'd be fantastic.
Do they have to be clean?
No, preferably not.
I'll bring some granny knickers. It'll be all good.
Perfect.
Yeah, so Paul, obviously you're not just here because you love us and you want to talk about Tyler Roberts. You are obviously here to promote an event that you've got coming up that we are all going to be at. Would you like to tell everyone watching what's coming up?
Yeah, and the reasoning behind it as well, because I think it's been lost in what we've been trying to do. I started writing songs, and like you guys, like we spoke before, you know, it's been received well in some quarters and not so well in other quarters. And look, I get that. I think people lose the sense of humour pointing it. You know, I think they like to think that it's serious, you know, and I think I'm some kind of like pop star. It's not about that. It's just about the fact that, you know, ever since, I mean, I've been a Leeds fan all my life, and ever since I was a kid, you know, I'd change lyrics of other songs to put Tony Yeboah's name in, you know, and I've always liked playing around with it. But when I did the King of Ellen Road, which went down amazingly well and gets sung at the ground sometimes in small sections as well. But when I did that, and the some of the comments and the messages and stuff was just out of this world from everywhere. From Argentina, Norway, Ireland, you know, coming in from all over, and it was nice to see a different Leeds. Do you know what I mean? I never really known, you know, about the wider Leeds, if you like. But anyway, so after that, I decided to just do some more, and some went down well, some not so well. You know, we got ripped for the we beat Man City one, which I thought were really good. And again, it's just a joke, but people like, oh, Chimpo. Well, you know, you come and see us live and see what it's about. It's a laugh. But anyway, yeah, so I got asked to do some gigs just on the back of my songs. And at the time, it was just me with backing tracks. So we decided to put a band together. At 39 years old, I'm in a band. But yeah, we've got an unbelievable band. Like, the guys are really good. Rob Chew, Tom Jepson, Rick Holmes, and Bart Petman. They've played in bands around Leeds for years and further afield. They're really talented. I mean, I'm quite clearly the weakest link in the whole thing, but I get away with it by, like you said, writing the lyrics, and I get that, you know, that kind of helps. But anyway, moving on. We decided last year to do a centenary night to celebrate 100 years of Leeds United, and the idea being that, you know, for once, we could just have a night of music. So we are playing. We've got Mickey Peaker, who you know, Mickey.
Yeah.
He's done Bielsa, Rhapsody, and some other amazing lead songs. Also, one of the funniest guys I know. He's comparing the night. We've got the Strikes, who are a massive, massive band locally and as well nationally. They've played Brands Hatch in front of thousands of people, and you know that they're a brilliant band. And then we've got Amanda Parr, who did the all lead song with me. Rob Isco, who's raised £16,000 for charity. We've got Jinder Jade with his March On Together, Go Fans Boylan, and John Watson as well. I'm just praying I haven't missed anyone off because I'm, you know, really nervous. John did the Without Leeds, if you've ever seen it. He's crazy. Yeah. The guy is absolutely nuts. But anyway, so we put this event together in the Irish Centre in Leeds. and we can't stress how incredible it's going to be. The rehearsals are well underway. The music is sounding amazing. We're playing the Centenary Whites, which is my band. We're playing at Ellen Road on the 7th before the Leicester game. We're playing in the fan zone. So you'll get a chance to come and see us, abuse us, love us, whatever you want to do. It's completely fine. But we're all Leeds fans. Do you know what I mean? The whole band is Leeds fans. We love Leeds as much as anyone. And it's very different what we do, but it's all in good nature and good fun. And if you've had a drink and you come down and you listen to it, you'll only have a good night. Coupled with the fact that we're doing a charity raffle as well. I don't know the details of this quite well enough to say it now in case I get it wrong, but it's for a young lad who really, really needs help. So we've got some signed memorabilia. We've got, I think, a match one click shirt, and we've got a signed shirt from the championship winning season. That's all going off. And with the greatest respect, it's 12 quid a ticket. 12 quid. The tickets are here. You know, we've been doing really well. And yeah, for 12 quid on a Friday night, you know, if you want to come down and just enjoy it with us, you know, it's literally just a celebration of Leeds United and putting together what we've worked really hard to do. So yeah, we'd appreciate if anyone wants tickets, they can come direct to me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might be. Get hold of me and we'll get your tickets to you. But we've 4 weeks till the event now, and they have been going really well. So we're hoping to sell out and we can just blow the roof off and make it a night to remember.
It sounds fantastic. I'm sure if that sounds up your street, obviously, like Paul said, contact him on either Facebook, Twitter. We'll obviously all be hoping to be there as well. Hope to see you there. Obviously, we're going to sign off in a minute or two. Before we go, yes, Scott.
So I think I'm a couple of seconds behind. That's why I'm putting my hand up. Just Paul, see at the concert, will we be hearing any new material?
Yeah, loads actually. But one I'll give you now because I know that's right. Yeah, we've done a really good one for Rafinha to Maria.
Oh,
that sounds really good live, really fun. But we've written one to the Beatles, "Love Me Do." It's so simple, you'll know it after like a line, but I'll just give you it anyway, just so to leave you with something to whet your appetite for the 19th. So we all hate Man U. We hate Chelsea too. You know that it's true. We're Leeds. We hate Man U.
I love it.
Brilliant. Love it.
I really hope you can come, guys. It'd be great to see you all there. All Leeds fans, you know, far and wide. We don't just want it to be our friends and family and whatever you coming down. We want anyone who likes music and a good night and a good drink and wears a Leeds top, then get yourselves down and have fun with us. And, you know, I'd love to see you all there.
That's brilliant. So thank you very much for that, Paul. And obviously just seeing, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you know about Scott and the Santa thing. He dresses up as Santa for kids in Northern Ireland. You genuinely made Santa look like it's Christmas. It's so cute.
Very good, Philip.
Made me very happy, Scott. Now
you're on the nice list, mate. You're on the nice list.
So before we go, obviously, guys, we'll have 2 or 3 more minutes back on the game. I want a score prediction from everybody. What's the score going to be? Who's going to get the goals? And just general, any other weird Scottisms you want to throw in there? We'll go Martin first, and then Scott, then Paul.
I'm going to go 1-1. It's going to be a draw, not a bar draw, but close enough. I think we're going to see a goal from Rodrigo. I don't know who from Wolves, but we'll see. It's going to be, it'd be going to be a tight game. A draw would get us some points, but I would prefer to win, obviously. But it's going to be a tough one tomorrow. So 1-1 for I'm going.
Scotty?
I was just wait there. Like, who we're going to next? I said in my pre-match that despite my hesitant pessimism at the minute, I think that if all the conditions are right tomorrow, we can win 3-1. Look at that for timing. 3-1. Yeah, that's what I said in my pre-match. Stephen Underwood, you're clearly watching my episodes.
And Paul? 0-0.
0-0, mate.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're ever involved in games with loads of goals. I think that the emphasis will be on defending, and I think if anything, it will be a very like you said, actually, funnily enough, like that Sheffield United game. I think it'll be very similar. It'll end up being 4-4 now. You watch, but that looking at the game now and how both managers set up, I think it will be. I think they'd both take a draw now as well. I really do. I think they'd both be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go 1-0 in a really hopeful way in that Sheffield United game. Slice of luck. I just hope that we can edge it. I do think it'll be a tight game, and fingers crossed we come out on the winning side this time. Basically, that's pretty much all I think there is to say. I don't see it being lots of goals as much as I'd like to see us win 3-1. And obviously having our top scorer back, it's pretty clear to me it's going to be a Raphinha goal that wins it. And I'd take anybody else scoring, to be honest. But I think if we are going to win, we need it to come from Raphinha. I think he pretty much carries us at times with his goals. So don't see tomorrow being any different. Any final bits from anybody? Anything anyone wants to throw out there before we piss off and get well rested for tomorrow? Paul?
I'd just like to say thank you for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Not at all, mate. An absolute pleasure. And if you ever want to come back, mate, we're always waiting for you.
Well, also to all of you on the channel, you know, and Natasha, and I know, you know, having a bit of a bad time in the minute, but just keep doing what you're doing, because no matter what people say, you know, positive, negative, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It takes a lot of courage to do what you guys are doing. So keep doing it. And there's a lot of people that are subscribed to you and follow you on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. They're the people you need to concentrate on. And it is fantastic that you all take the time out to come and do these kind of things, because it does genuinely mean a lot to a lot of people. So keep it up.
Thank you, mate. That means a lot to all of us. And
thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
It's nice to be appreciated. If you like,
can I just say something as well?
Go on, Scotty. Go.
I would just like to thank Paul for coming on as well. He has made the 15-year-old schoolgirl in me very happy.
Oh, mate, there's too many jokes for me to make there.
Careful what you say, because no matter what, you will offend a snowflake.
On that note, I think, Martin, you all right? Just leave it there, mate.
I can't really top what Scotty just said there, to be honest. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try. But no, enjoy the game, everyone, and hopefully it's going to be a good one.
Wherever you're watching, guys, enjoy the game tomorrow. Scotty, have a nice time in Leeds over the weekend, mate.
I will. Me and Punjabi Whites are going to absolutely rip up the West End. Yo!
I hope you enjoy the game, guys. Right, we're going to leave it there, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please smash the like button if you can, and obviously if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check the links below, and obviously see if you can go on our donation page and give some money to the Leeds United Foundation for all the events that we're doing with them over the current season. I'm just going to end it before Paul gets kissed anymore. Right, goodbye, everybody. See you later.